I've got a few motherboards and expansion cards I've collected over the years that are just sitting in a drawer doing nothing. It occurred to me that I could do some reviews of these and explain what I use them for and reflect on whether or not these were good purchases. With this in mind, some time ago I brought this PC test bench from AliExpress as it would be an ideal way to showcase this hardware instead of containing it inside a normal PC case. However, the first time I used it was sooner than anticipated. When I built my recording PC, the motherboard socket had bent pins, so I was hesitant to mount the motherboard into the case first, so it was time to take the test bench for a spin. Hence, here's me pulling it from the box it came in. This is the MK01 standard ATX model. It comes in a couple of pieces. There's the bottom plate, the back plane, and triangular support plates. The bottom plate is well designed. There are several cutouts which allow access to the rear of the motherboard, very handy when installing a CPU cooler or accessing an M2 slot. And it has all the normal mounting holes for the motherboard standoffs. The back plane has support for 8 expansion slots, a 9-pin serial port cutout, and also another square cutout whose purpose I have no idea about. There's the standard hole for the motherboard I/O shield and a position for a power supply. Assembling it together is very easy. The backplane screws onto the bottom plate and then the two triangular pieces go on either ends to provide support. You also receive extra screws including a set of motherboard standoffs as well as a special tool for screwing in the motherboard standoffs. It also came with a power on switch, so you can connect it to the motherboard header and easily turn it on, instead of trying to short the pins with a screwdriver. Installing the power supply is very easy as it uses the standard mounting holes. With the frame assembled and power supply installed, it actually seems quite sturdy and is ready for some action. This is a Gigabyte GA F2A85X UP4 AMD socket FM2 motherboard I will be doing a future review on, but it also makes for some great footage of installing the I/O shield and then mounting the motherboard. At this point, that's about all the features the test bench packs in, but let's not forget the power switch. When connected to the motherboard header, you can then easily power on the motherboard without needing to short the motherboard header pins. However, I was tempted by another AliExpress item here, a 2-key power switch and reset switch equipped with LEDs for power and hard disk drive activity. This only cost me $6.36 Australian and is a nice addition to the test bench. It's not a must-have, but it does make it easier to locate the power button, and now I also have a reset switch along with activity LEDs. It also came with a 2-split adapter that allows you to connect the jumpers of the key switch, but also the jumpers for the case you have the PC mounted in, allowing 2 ways to turn the PC on or off along with seeing the activity. I gave it a go and decided to keep using it as it allows for easy adding and removing it from the motherboard header. It's also handy to be able to see the hard drive activity via this small LED. This is a great quality of life feature. The bottom plate also has mounting holes for 3.5-inch and 2.5-inch hard drives and SSDs in 2 different locations, allowing you to stand the drives on their side. I opted not to use these as I was tempted by another AliExpress item. These PCI expansion slot hard drive brackets that cost me $7.69. As you can see here, there seemed to be an accident during shipping, however this was soon straightened out. Each bracket allows you to install one 3.5-inch or 2.5-inch hard drive on either side of the bracket. In my case, I mounted a 3.5-inch hard drive I was using for testing a Windows 10 install, and then a 2.5-inch SSD for an installation of OpenMandriva Linux. Once the hard drives were installed into the bracket, I mounted it into the last expansion slot. I found this an easier way to add or remove storage. If I was using the mounting holes on the test bench, then I would need to turn the test bench on its side to access the mounting hole locations. While that's not a deal breaker, these PCI brackets allow for more flexibility. In regards to the 8 expansion slots, I've had a 2-slot GPU installed and screwed down to the backplane, and it provided great stability for the card. This is an important feature of any test bench. That's really all there is to this test bench. It's nothing fancy, but it has all the required features for mounting a motherboard, connecting peripherals, and then powering it on. Was the PC test bench worth it? It cost me $42.29 Australian dollars, and the first time I used it was the perfect use case. That was when the motherboard for my recording PC had bent pins in the CPU socket. I was uncertain if my repair work was successful, so mounting it in the test bench was very useful, as if the motherboard was faulty, then I would have been frustrated if the motherboard had just been installed into the rack case. So yes, the test bench has most certainly been worth it. I've used it several times since, and it's made it easy to switch different peripherals and motherboards with minimum fuss. The additions of the power switch and PCI expansion slot hard drive brackets are great, but not necessary. This is a great example of technology you can buy from AliExpress that doesn't break the bank and provides great functionality. Another happy customer right here. That's it for this behind the scenes video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. Do you own one of these or have considered buying one? Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts or any questions you may have. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you are doing well, and I look forward to seeing you soon.